More than 600 years before modern economics was born, a single mind explained why nations rise, why wealth concentrates, and why powerful empires always fall. No charts, no data science, no stock markets, just sharp observation and deep understanding of human behavior. Today, economists call it the boom and bust cycle, but in the 14th century, Ibn Khaldun had already decoded it. What makes this even more shocking is that his ideas perfectly match what we see today. Inflation, high taxes, government spending, declining productivity, and finally collapse. From ancient empires to modern superpowers, the pattern repeats again and again. And yet, very few people know that the foundation of economic cycles was laid centuries before Adam Smith or Karl Marx. In this video on Finance Historian Time, we are going to uncover how Ibn Khaldun discovered economic cycles almost 600 years early. Not through theory, but by watching societies live, grow, and destroy themselves. This is not just history. This is a warning written in the past for the present. Ibn Khaldun was not an economist by profession. He was a historian, a judge, a traveler, and most importantly, a thinker who studied civilizations like living organisms. He believed societies are born, they grow strong, they become wealthy, and then slowly weaken from inside. According to him, the economy is not controlled by money alone. It is controlled by human behavior, incentives, and power. He observed that every civilization begins with strong unity. People work harder, taxes are low, trust is high, and productivity grows fast. Wealth increases naturally because effort is rewarded, but success itself plants the seeds of decline. As rulers grow comfortable, spending increases, governments expand, taxes rise, people lose motivation, productivity falls, and slowly the same system that created wealth starts destroying it. If this sounds familiar, that's because you've seen it happen in modern times. Before we go deeper, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Finance Historian Time. This channel breaks down financial history in simple stories, so we can understand the present through the past. Subscribing helps you stay ahead, not just informed. Ibn Khaldun believed that every economic cycle begins with strength, not wealth. According to him, prosperity is never the starting point. It is the result of something deeper. Strong social unity, discipline, and a shared sense of purpose. He called this force asabiya, a powerful bond that holds people together and pushes them to work, sacrifice, and build. In the early stage of a civilization, people live simple lives. There's little luxury, but there is high motivation. Individuals rely on their own effort, not on the state. Taxes are low, rules are limited, and rulers understand that excessive control kills productivity. Because people are allowed to keep the rewards of their labor, they work harder. Trade expands, skills improve, wealth grows naturally. Ibn Khaldun noticed something modern economists later proved. When taxes are low, government revenue actually increases. Not because rates are high, but because economic activity explodes. People invest, businesses grow, and production rises. This idea sounds exactly like what we now call the Laffer curve. But Ibn Khaldun described it hundreds of years earlier, without formulas or graphs. During this phase, rulers live close to the people. Leadership is based on respect, not fear. The government exists to protect trade, enforce justice, and defend society, not to extract wealth from it. Because corruption is low and accountability is high, trust flows through the economy. And where trust exists, growth follows. But Ibn Khaldun warned that this stage never lasts forever. Success slowly changes behavior. As wealth increases, lifestyles change, comfort replaces struggle, discipline weakens. The ruling class begins to separate itself from the people, and that's when the cycle quietly shifts. Government spending starts rising, palaces replace simple homes, armies grow larger, bureaucracies expand. To fund this new lifestyle, taxes must increase. At first, the impact is small. People absorb it. But over time, higher taxes begin to choke productivity. Workers feel punished for success. Merchants hide income. Innovation slows. This is the most dangerous moment in the cycle, because the economy still looks strong on the surface. Wealth exists. Cities are busy. The state appears powerful. But underneath, the engine of growth is losing energy. Ibn Khaldun compared this to a tree that looks green but is rotting at the roots. This is the point where most civilizations make the same mistake. Instead of reducing taxes and restoring incentives, rulers double down. They believe the solution to falling revenue is higher taxation. And in doing so, they push the economy into the next stage, decline. As taxes rise and control increases, Ibn Khaldun observed a silent shift in human behavior. People don't stop working immediately. They slowly stop caring. Effort no longer feels rewarding. Risk feels dangerous. Creativity fades. When rewards are taken away, ambition disappears. This, according to Ibn Khaldun, is the true beginning of economic decline. Merchants reduce trade, farmers cut production, skilled workers leave or lower their output. Some move into unproductive government roles because safety matters more than growth. Others hide wealth, avoid taxes, or operate outside the system. On paper, the state may still look rich, but real economic activity is shrinking. At this stage, governments become addicted to spending. Armies, administration, and luxury lifestyles demand constant funding. Instead of fixing incentives, rulers raise taxes again. Each increase brings less revenue than the last. This creates a deadly feedback loop. Higher taxes lead to lower productivity, which leads to lower revenue, which leads to even higher taxes. Ibn Khaldun made a critical observation here. He said the state begins to compete with its own people. Governments enter business, take over industries, and crowd out private enterprise. When the state becomes the biggest trader, merchant, and employer, innovation dies. There is no competition, no risk-taking, no progress. This is also when inequality explodes. Those close to power benefit. Everyone else struggles. Wealth concentrates at the top, while the majority becomes dependent on the state. Social unity, the very force that created the civilization, collapses. People no longer feel connected to the system. They feel trapped by it. History proves this again and again. From ancient empires to modern economies, decline does not come from external enemies first. It comes from internal decay. Productivity falls, trust disappears, corruption rises, the economy becomes fragile. Ibn Khaldun warned that once a society reaches this phase, recovery becomes extremely difficult. Even if leaders try to reverse policies, habits have changed. People have adapted to survival mode, not growth mode. The system loses its ability to regenerate itself. But collapse is not immediate. It is slow, painful, and often invisible until it's too late. The state still collects taxes. The army still stands. The cities still function, but the economic soul is gone. When the final stage arrives, collapse does not look dramatic at first. There is no single moment when everything breaks. Ibn Khaldun explained that civilizations usually fall quietly, exhausted from their own weight. The economy is already weak, productivity is already low, and society has already lost its sense of unity. All that remains is pressure. Government spending is now massive, but revenues can no longer support it. To survive, the state borrows, debases currency, or squeezes the remaining productive groups even harder. Inflation rises, prices increase, ordinary people struggle to survive, while the elite protect their privileges. This is when public trust fully disappears. Ibn Khaldun observed that at this stage, rulers rely more on force than legitimacy. Laws become harsh, punishments increase, surveillance grows, but fear cannot replace motivation. An economy driven by fear produces nothing new. Trade slows further. Skilled people leave if they can. Those who remain stop taking risks. The military, once a source of strength, becomes a burden. Soldiers are paid late or not at all. Loyalty weakens. Defense systems decay. And because the economy can no longer sustain protection, external threats suddenly become dangerous. What looked like a strong empire collapses under a relatively small push. Ibn Khaldun emphasized a powerful truth. Collapse is not caused by enemies, disasters, or bad luck. These are only triggers. The real cause is internal decay. A society that loses incentives, justice, and unity destroys itself long before outsiders arrive. This is why his theory still matters today. Modern nations may look different, but human behavior has not changed. High taxation, excessive government control, dependency, and declining productivity follow the same pattern, regardless of time or technology. Before we close, remember that this cycle is not a prediction. It is a warning. Understanding it gives societies a chance to slow decline, restore incentives, and rebuild unity. Ignoring it guarantees repetition. 600 years after Ibn Khaldun wrote his ideas, the world changed completely. But human behavior did not. Modern economies use digital money, global trade, and advanced technology, yet they still move through the same cycles he described. Growth begins with strong incentives, discipline, and trust. Decline begins when comfort replaces effort and power replaces accountability. Today we give these cycles modern names: expansion, peak, recession, collapse. Economists use complex models to explain them, but Ibn Khaldun understood something deeper. He knew that economics is not just about money, it is about people. When people feel rewarded for effort, economies grow. When they feel punished for success, economies shrink. Look around the world: rising government spending, increasing taxes, growing debt, expanding bureaucracy, declining productivity. These are not new problems. They are ancient patterns repeating themselves. Ibn Khaldun warned that when the state becomes too large and society becomes too dependent, the cycle moves closer to decline, no matter how advanced the system appears. But his work was not pessimistic. It was realistic. He believed decline can be slowed, incentives can be restored, unity can be rebuilt, but only if leaders understand the cycle and act early. Once motivation is destroyed, recovery becomes painful and slow. This is why studying financial history matters. Not to predict the future perfectly, but to recognize patterns before they repeat. At Finance Historian Time, this is exactly what we do. We break down the past so you can better understand the present and think smarter about the future. If this video helped you see economics differently, drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think modern economies are following Ibn Khaldun's cycle right now? Share this video with someone who loves history, economics, or big ideas, because these lessons are too important to stay hidden. History doesn't repeat because it must. It repeats because people forget. And 600 years ago, Ibn Khaldun already told us how it would end, unless we choose to listen.